Good morning, everyone. Wow, a full house. Good morning and welcome to AEA's 60th anniversary celebration. Let me first begin by thanking the folks at Pacific Southwest Instruments, Jim, Sylvia, Joe Bear, Ray McDonald, the whole PSI team for sponsoring this morning's opening session. We appreciate that very much. David, your remarks were spot on in regards to the growth and the changes of this industry and the AEA in the last 60 years. And while I'm always a firm believer in being proactive and looking ahead to all the circumstances and the issues and the opportunities that are surely going to come our way in the future, I, for one, think it's also important to always look back and take time to remember the who and the what that brought each of us to this particular point. As the AEA staff prepared for this 60th anniversary celebration, we literally took a walk down memory lane going through AEA paperwork and files and photos and so forth. It was great. Our goal was to get a better grasp and understanding of what were the Founding Fathers thinking when they gathered together in that hotel room in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they first started putting together the bylaws of the association. What were their discussion points those early years? And I also find it interesting to think, did they think ahead, which they probably surely did because they were very smart businessmen, but could they have envisioned what today's AEA would be like? As David said, when we've stretched beyond the US borders and now we're in more than 40 countries around the world. And you have to remember that this was a volunteer organization for nearly 20 years. So these people were just like all of you. They had full-time jobs in the industry, but they took time to volunteer for the cause. And they didn't have the luxury that we do today of computers and email and texting. They didn't even have fax machines back then. So they did everything by hand or typing letters, mimeographing copies and mailing them out, and phone calls, of course, to help encourage the growth of this association. So today it is very interesting for us to look back and look through those files and read some of the minutes from the board meetings and see what those topics were. We found that even though there were disagreements on the exact mission of the association back then, there was also a lot of compromise. These people, like today, were in competition with one another. We're all in competition in a way with one another, but yet like them, we all share a common passion to not only make our own place in the avionics industry, but to make our overall industry stronger and more vital. These industry colleagues before us, they paved the way for all of us to make a living, make a life, if you will, in this industry. They paved the way for us to have all the brilliant technologies that have been introduced since 1957. They wrote the mission of the organization to facilitate better communications, to educate its members, to influence applicable regulatory and legislative activities, and to establish quality processes. I firmly believe in a mission statement. I think it's important for every organization, no matter what size, to have a mission. But I also firmly believe that a mission statement is more than just words written or typed on a piece of paper and hung proudly in your lobby, because the true mission to me of any organization is the character of the people who have lived the mission before us, and each of us who are tasked with living that mission today and into the next generation. So yes, the AEA had founding fathers, we had committee members, we had board members, we had a lot of different people coming together to grow this organization over the years. Dedicated and passionate people like all of you who continue to pay your membership dues on an annual basis because you believe so strongly in the ideals of this association. And to me, it's not just companies paying their dues, it's individuals. It's people like Lloyd Nesbitt of LAC Avionics in California, who, to my knowledge and my best recollection, has not missed an AEA regional meeting on the West Coast in at least 20 to 25 years, maybe even longer, and probably almost as many conventions. Now, Lloyd, to my knowledge, has never served on the board. He may have served on a committee, but he's truly representative of that member who realizes the importance of attending AEA events and meetings and networking and meeting people and taking away things they learn that you learn in the training sessions. It's Pahan Ranasinghe and it's Don Dominguez, who take time away from their respective shops in Florida and California to come to AEA headquarters offices a few times a year and teach classes on proper installation techniques because they believe so strongly in doing the job correctly. And it's Tom Sternig, Barry Alward, Tim Shaw, who all three have spent many hours in Ottawa at the headquarters of Transport Canada, most times on their own nickel and taking time away from their own businesses to learn and share with their competitors in Canada new regulations coming out of Ottawa. They do that because they know it will not only benefit them, but they do it because of the AEA. It's Rick Garcia, who raised his hand a few years ago and volunteered his own time and a lot of his own resources to introduce AEA to the country of Colombia. And it's Marcos Padrone and Nina Auritas, who for many years have spread the word of the AEA in their homeland of Brazil and throughout Latin America. It's Mr. Dwayne McNutt, who shares the same work anniversary as AEA's anniversary this year. 60 years in the industry, still working after graduating from the Navy's Aircraft Electronics Technician School. He's still involved and still here, and he's here this morning. It's Mike Berryhill, who shares his passion of teaching to so many AEA member repair station technicians. It's Dan Derby, who is now retired, but he is here today. And as an active member of the AEA, Dan believed so strongly in the educational foundation of the AEA that he has volunteered countless hours and his own money to fund many scholarships. And the training classroom at AEA's international headquarters is named the Dan Derby Center for Professional Development. And I cannot leave out our members from the South Pacific and Europe who travel each and every year, thousands of miles. There's a group of you, you know who you are. They believe so strongly in the benefit of attending this convention that they come each and every year, and it takes quite a while and a lot of jet lag to get here. It's AEA's own Deborah Mcfarland, who has spent 40 years dedicating her career to the AEA and has witnessed the growth throughout these years firsthand. And it is the brilliant minds of Art Collins, Ed King, Paul Foster, Gary Burrell, and so many, many others who have literally changed the scope of our industry by the products they created and introduced. And it's also the men of this great organization who have served as our chairman of the board over the past years. And this morning, I am so proud and honored to recognize these 8 past chairmen and, of course, our current chairman of the board. They're seated down front, but just taking a look at you, I was going to ask you to stand at your seats, but instead, may I please ask you to quickly join me up on stage? I want to recognize the past chairman of our board of directors and our current chairman. So as they approach, I think almost all of them are here this morning. We have Mr. Greg Vell and Jim Lauer, Dan Prosser, who's behind him? Paul D. Herrera, Jim Cook, Mr. Leroy Daler, and of course our current chairman, David Loso. Gentlemen, thank you for your years of leadership on behalf of this association and helping to grow the organization. Thank you. Thank you. And as you take your seats, let me also recognize our current board of directors. These ladies and gentlemen spend hours every year, each and every year. We have 2 board meetings per year and a lot of activities throughout the year that we correspond back and forth on. These individuals are elected by and from the membership. They are volunteers, and I want to recognize them by please asking the current board of directors to stand. Ladies and gentlemen, your current AEA board of directors. So 60 years ago, the AE was formed to solve problems as well as make this industry stronger. And this morning, I ask you to join me in paying tribute to the evolution of the AEA.
In 1957, an avionics shop owner based in Denver, Colorado, mailed postcards to shops across the United States in hopes of forming a group to give individual shops a stronger voice in the general aviation electronics industry. No doubt, that avionics shop owner, Charles Peacock of Aircraft Radio and Accessory, was a passionate man who believed many voices bound together would be stronger than a single voice. With the help of his wife, they sat at their kitchen table and hand-wrote each postcard, mailing them to nearly 50 shops. A few months later, 11 shop owners met in Minneapolis to create the Aircraft Electronics Association. From its humble beginnings, word spread quickly about the mission of the AEA to promote honest and open communication between radio shops and manufacturers, as well as work with the regulators to understand and implement regulations. For 20 years, annual meetings took place across the United States, and the small but mighty membership continued to grow, led by a volunteer staff and board of directors. For several years, Gene Baker of Baker Electronics served as the volunteer executive director from his office in Sarasota, Florida. In 1977, Monty Mitchell led the efforts as the first full-time paid executive director and was later named president to oversee the rapid growth. He moved the AEA to a suburb of Kansas City, Missouri, where it remains today under the leadership of AEA President Paula Derks. Along the way, the AEA membership widened to include manufacturers, distributors, engineers, and academic institutions. Today, the membership reaches more than 40 countries and nearly 1,300 company members, representing thousands of avionics professionals, and continues to offer its members vital programs and services. At the heart of its mission, the AEA is still today as it was 60 years ago, a community of individuals with the common goal of fostering better communication among all its members. While the AEA will continue to offer services, programs, and benefits in the years ahead, the benchmark of its success is the individuals who make up this great organization.
I've always learned that you spend a third of your life learning, a third of your life working, and a third of your life serving. And the AEA has allowed us to do all of those things.
The AEA's kept a great blend, you know. Sometimes there's certain things that you want to keep and there's things you need to change, and they've been able to find a great balance between the two.
I think the AEA serves as a great facilitator for our company to interact with various entities within the industry that perhaps we normally would not.
You couldn't have a program, you couldn't run a program individually from a company and have the success that you do today without the AEA's involvement.
AEA, we've found over the years, brings together the people, the products, and the information that we need to stay connected with our dealers.
If you want to continue to be successful and have the right strategy for what you're doing out there, come to AEA. It's part of the strategery.
My very first memory of going to a national AEA show, there was a gentleman sitting at the table by the name of Ed First. He pulled open a chair and said, "Come down, sit down, young man." The thing I learned is when you find somebody new and they're alone, you go up and welcome them and have a conversation with them.
The AEA, the meetings, the shows, and definitely the publications, it's a communication tool.
I think the best word to describe AEA is family.
The AEA provides the opportunities for us to improve the tools that we have and gain new tools.
You've done a magnificent job of advocating for our industry.
Congratulations to the AEA for 60 years of service to our community.
I would attribute the bulk of my success to being involved with the AEA.
You feel included, you feel part of something a lot bigger, and I think that's what AEA is all about.
Throughout the years, the faces may have changed, but what remains is the same passion and drive for success that Chuck Peacock envisioned 60 years ago. Part of that success is the hard work of the association staff working to produce quality products, benefits, and services for the AEA membership. It's the honor and pleasure of the AEA staff to host members this week in New Orleans as we celebrate AEA's 60th anniversary. Here's to the next 60.
The downside, I realize, of singling out certain people and recognizing them is that you inadvertently leave out those that are equally as deserving. So let me just simply say this. The AEA is every single one of you out there this morning. Each of you are the thread that helps weave the fabric of this association. 1957, that was then. 2017, this is now. And this week, you will learn all the issues and challenges and opportunities that are facing our industry, the restructuring of the FAA, changing international regulatory landscapes, the possibility of privatizing our air traffic control system in the United States, the effects of the Part 23 rewrite on our segment of the industry, meeting the ADS-B mandate, and so much more. Your participation this week, and I encourage you, I know this is New Orleans, and I know it's the motto is to let the good times roll, but make sure you let those good times roll in the classrooms upstairs and in the exhibit hall and in the sessions here this morning where you're going to learn about new products and services. Your participation helps make this industry grow and prosper for the next 60 years. And I personally, and on behalf of the AEA staff and board of directors, welcome each of you to New Orleans this week. I look forward to helping you, or helping us, celebrate 60 years of AEA.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 60th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from New Orleans, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
FreeFlight Systems is expanding its business into the Part 25 aviation industry through new avionics shop dealers, manufacturer partnerships, and STC programs. With a focus on the next-gen airspace and remote-mounted sensor systems, FreeFlight Systems will continue to be a leader in the next-gen airspace. Visit freeflightsystems.com for details.
Southeast Aerospace teamed up with Garmin International, Gables Engineering, and Peregrine Avionics to bring the most cost-effective and flexible ADS-B solution to the business aviation community. Our Part 25 AML STC is available for non-TCAS-2 Beechjet, Citation, Hawker, Learjet, and Falcon Jet. Visit seaerospace.com for more details.
It's called AirText Plus. The mobile office is now a true, cost-effective win-win reality. Because being available and part of the communication chain keeps you in control. Visit us at www.airtext.aero for more information and get started staying in touch today.
True Blue Power Advanced Lithium-Ion Mainship batteries feature proprietary nanophosphate technology. They deliver 3 times the energy density and are more than 40% lighter than lead-acid or NiCad alternatives. RTCA tested, FAA certified, available to OEMs today.
Have you ever wanted big glass in your cockpit but didn't have the space? Now with Avidyne's IFD series touchscreen GPS navigators and our new IFD 100 iPad app, having big glass in your cockpit is finally within reach.